Hey, what is up, mortals? It's TallDragon here, and before we get into today's video, there's something I'd like to say. I'd like to let you all know that we have a merch store. Some of the items in it are only available for a limited amount of time, so if you're interested, go into the description and check it out. Each purchase helps us make more content. Secondly, if this video hits 500 likes by the end of the week, we will continue this What If. Thirdly, if you didn't know, only 41.3% of you guys are subscribed to us, so please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the story. Izuku lay in his bed with all of the lights off, staring at the ceiling. "Izuku, it's time for dinner!" his mother shouted from the kitchen. He didn't move from his bed. It had been almost a week since his fight with Bakugo. His mother had talked to the police and he had gotten off with a warning, as he had lied through his teeth about the fight being self-defense. As soon as the patrol car had left, his mother gave his weights away to a family friend and called to have his self-defense classes cancelled. He knew he had no right to be mad at her for it. She had warned him ahead of time that's what she would do. He pushed himself out of bed to go eat dinner, but stopped before leaving his room. His gaze lingered on the notebook he had on his desk, and an idea began to form in his mind. Izuku was quiet at dinner. Quieter than usual. It didn't take his mother long to catch on. "Izuku, is everything okay?" she asked him, her brow wrinkled with concern. "Yeah, Mom, I'm fine. Just tired," he said distantly. His mind was on something else. They ate the rest of their dinner in silence, the only sound coming from their silverware. As soon as Izuku finished his meal, he went back to his bedroom and closed the door. Inko Midoriya stared down the hall to his room quietly. She was scared he was going to do something that might cause him to get hurt. Izuku sat at his desk, looking through his notebook and scribbling notes with passion. In this book, he had written down every pro hero, their quirks, their strengths and weaknesses, which agency they owned or were employed to, the zones they patrolled, and their biggest fights. Every bit of information available to the public about the pros he had written down in this notebook. Now he was studying, searching for a hero that he could take in a fight. If he could prove to the world that you didn't need a quirk to be a hero, maybe they would stop giving them all the respect that they didn't deserve. Around midnight, Izuku finally had his plan in place. He knew he wouldn't be able to beat a pro hero with a physically powerful quirk, and he would be beaten on the spot if he tried to fight someone with a ranged quirk. He had narrowed his search down to one professional team of heroes, the Wild Pussycats, a professional agency that mostly did support work for the other heroes. Most of their members were weak to physical confrontation. If he could catch one off guard, he might be able to finish the fight before they knew what had hit them. Over the next few days, Izuku took his time planning his attack. He watched countless hours of footage from the Wild Pussycats fan page. Videos from interviews, fan recordings of fights, personal blogs, news coverage, even advertisements. He wanted to learn everything he could about his next victim. He finally decided his target would be Shino Sosaki, better known by her hero name, Mandalay. Her quirk allowed her to send messages to people telepathically, a quirk that would be useless to her in a fight. He decided he would go out on his next day off from school and scope out the agency, and begin taking his notes on their patterns and routines. When Izuku returned to school following a short suspension for fighting, everyone stared at him fearfully. Hurried whispers were exchanged between classmates as he walked by on his way to class. He paid no attention to them. He didn't have time for the gossip and rumors. He didn't care. During class, his teacher didn't call on him to answer a single question. Everyone treated him as if he just didn't exist. An upgrade from the constant teasing and bullying, Izuku thought to himself. The school days blended together as Izuku continued to research and plan his next mission. Before he knew it, the weekend was there, and he was ready to make his move. Before we get back into the story, I would like to say that we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes over the hard facts of the anime presented. Now, in case you guys didn't know, we have a third channel called Anime Theory. Anime Theory mainly focuses on a large variety of mind-boggling anime theories. If you are interested in content like this, please go check the description below, or click the eye icon on the top right corner. Now with that out of the way, let's get back into the story. "Mom, I'm headed out to take a walk around the city," Izuku said to his mother as he walked out the door in the early morning light, forcing himself to sound as normal and innocent as he possibly could. "Okay, dear, just make sure you're back home before dinner. I'm making your favorite katsudon bowls," she called back to him. But the door had already closed behind him. In his bag, he carried everything he thought he might need for his research. A small video camera, drinks and snacks, and a change of clothes if he were to somehow ruin what he was currently wearing. He pulled up the headquarters for the Wild Pussycats and began his walk into the city. He arrived a few hours later, just in time for the last employee to make their way through the door. Izuku sat on a nearby bench and started up his camera, setting it next to him so that it pointed towards the door. Now he simply had to wait and see what happened. A short while later, a tall man left the building dressed in the pro-hero outfit of the Wild Wild Pussycats. That must have been Yawara Jitora, also known by the public as Tiger, Izuku thought to himself. He would have to make sure Tiger wasn't around when he attacked Mandalay, as his quirk would allow him to beat Izuku without breaking a sweat. Izuku noted the time and jotted it down in his notebook as Tiger walked past him, nodding and greeting as he continued down the street. Izuku pretended not to notice him, his attention absorbed entirely within his notes. The rest of the day went by with nothing eventful happening. Customers and minor heroes coming in and out of the doors. Soon it was time for the agency to close, and Izuku watched as the star members of the agency went their separate ways. Suddenly an idea popped into Izuku's head. He would follow Mandalay home. Surely she didn't live too far from the agency, since she was probably on call 24/7 in the event of sudden disaster. He quickly packed his gear into his backpack and began tailing the small brown-haired woman. The hour was getting late and the streetlights turned on as the sun set below the horizon and nighttime fell over the city. Mandalay stopped several times, buying magazines and a small bag of groceries before continuing on her way. Izuku noted the times of everything, so that he could review them all over the next couple of days to see if he could establish a pattern. Finally, they arrived at what Izuku assumed to be the neighborhood of the pro-hero. It was a large gated neighborhood full of luxurious houses with expensive cars parked in the driveway. Typical home of an entitled, undeserving hero, Izuku thought to himself. The entire neighborhood was surrounded by a tall brick wall, and the gate was manned by a private security guard monitoring the gates and cameras placed throughout the streets. Izuku made one last note of time she arrived and began his own walk back to his house. It was late when Izuku quietly snuck through the front door of his house. His mom was fast asleep on the couch, the TV channel set to the news. His dinner sat on the table, cold and untouched. He took the bowl to his room so as not to disturb his mother and alert her as to how late it was when he finally returned. He sat down at his desk and began reviewing all of the notes he had taken, and watching the footage for when people entered and left the agency he had been scoping out all day. After making some more brief notes, Izuku fell into a dreamless sleep, exhausted from the long day. The next day was the same as the last. Izuku woke up earlier, leaving before his mother awoke, and once again walked to the Pussycat main headquarters. This time he sat on the bench opposite the street, so he wouldn't look as suspicious to anybody who visited the agency yesterday. He had uploaded all of his footage from his camera to his computer before erasing it, and made sure the batteries were fully charged before he left home. He set up everything the same as yesterday, with his notebook and pen out and his camera set facing the agency. Sure enough, at roughly the same time yesterday, Tiger left the building and began his daily patrols. He didn't notice Izuku sitting on the bench on the other side of the street. Izuku once again noted the time and compared it to yesterday's time. The day was once again uneventful, with the usual coming and going of people. At the same time yesterday, Mandalay left the building and began her walk home, and once again Izuku followed her, making notes when she stopped. He didn't follow her all the way home this time, opting instead to head home a little earlier so that he didn't draw suspicion from his mother. Izuku arrived home just as his mother finished setting the table for dinner. "Where have you been all weekend, Izuku? I feel like I've barely seen you," his mother asked him with a worried tone. "Sorry, Mom. I've just been enjoying the weather. I've been in my room so long I was starting to forget what nature looked like," he joked with her, a smile on his face. His mother was glad to see him smile for the first time since the fight. She finished setting the table and the two had a relaxing dinner together as they talked about Izuku's classes and what he had seen in the city over the weekend. He made sure not to mention where he had actually been. After dinner, he decided to watch TV with his mother before reviewing his notebook and packing his bag for school the next day. Izuku was in a better mood than he had been in a long time. Izuku's good mood was soon ruined when he returned to school and saw Bakugo sitting in the classroom, his arm wrapped in a cast. Bakugo glared at Izuku until the teacher came in and began the class. Izuku left the instant the final bell rang, but he wasn't fast enough. "Oi, Deku!" The anger-filled voice of Bakugo cut through the air. "Wait just a minute!" Izuku froze for a second before turning around. "What do you want, Bakugo?" he asked through gritted teeth. "I don't know what exactly you told the police or your mother, but it was all a damn lie and you know it. You provoked that fight by opening your mouth." Bakugo's hands were already starting to spark. "You better watch your back, because I'm going to come back stronger, and I'm going to beat you senseless when I do." The sparks subsided, but the fire in Bakugo's eyes was brighter than ever. "Sure, whatever you say, Bakugo," Izuku said dismissively. He was no longer scared of Bakugo. He knew he could beat him and any of his bully friends that came after him. Izuku still couldn't shake the raw emotion he felt coming from Bakugo on his walk home. The anger and passion he saw in his eyes. If Bakugo really did grow stronger, he wasn't so sure he would be able to beat him if they were to fight again. But he pushed the thought from his mind. It didn't matter. When the world caught wind of what he would soon do, Bakugo wouldn't dare try to fight him, at least not in a fair fight. No, he would make sure that there would never be a second fight to begin with. Thank you all for watching the video to the end. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. On behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank the writer for this video as well as the editors for this video. Their details will be in the description below. If you're a voice actor, editor, or writer, or you're interested in becoming one of those, go to the Discord that is in the description of this video and hit up the head of one of those areas. We're always looking for members to join us. That's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're interested, and hit that like button if you liked the video. Until next time, peace out mortals, have an amazing day.